going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to be going over 3 potential trade targets for our Chicago Bulls before the start of the 2024-25 NBA season. A little preview here. The Bulls do end up trading Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic in all of these deals. But before we dive into that, guys, I want to give you guys a look at our sub battle that we have going on right now versus the Heat Report. They got a pretty sizable lead on us. So if you guys want to help us close that gap and stay up to date around your Chicago Bulls, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 10,000 subs here on the channel. If we could hit that milestone before the start of the season, I would absolutely be pumped up about that. So hit that subscribe button and lock us in. But the first trade target that Bleacher Report listed for the Chicago Bulls is a big-time name, that being Brandon Ingram. Now, this was an interesting deal thrown out there by Bleacher Report. It was a 3-team trade with the Golden State Warriors, Chicago Bulls, and the New Orleans Pelicans. And when I first saw this deal, first off, I was absolutely thrilled about it because in this trade, the Bulls would be moving off Vooch and Zach LaVine, which is fantastic. But in this deal, the Bulls would be receiving Ingram and Andrew Wiggins, and then they'll be sending away Zach LaVine to the Golden State Warriors, and then also Nikola Vucevic to the Pelicans. And then they would have to attach the 2025 first-round pick that they do have from the Portland Trail Blazers, but that is lottery protected. Then they would also have to include 2 second-round picks that they got from the sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan. But this deal, I think it would be a dream move for the Bulls. Like, if there is any trade out there where the Bulls don't have to give up any of their own future draft capital in terms of first-round picks, and you're able to move off LaVine and Vucevic, you do it and you run. You take that deal right away. And plus in this trade, you're acquiring 2 pretty good basketball players. Now, you're getting Brandon Ingram and Andrew Wiggins. Now, we'll make this note. I could see the Bulls, if this were the trade that were, to go down, that they could look to trade these guys immediately after, as, Brandon Ingram, I'm a fan of his game, but he is on a 1-year expiring deal left on his contract of around $33 million. So maybe you keep him on the roster and then you end up dealing him at the trade deadline. But you're also getting Andrew Wiggins, who, is not the same player that he was when the Warriors won a championship in the 2022 season, where he was the second best player, one of the best rebounding wings I've ever seen in an NBA Finals performance. But you are landing at Brandon Ingram, who is a borderline top 25, top 30 player in the league, in my opinion. Now, he is coming off one of his recent down years in his NBA career, only averaged 20.8 points per game, which was his lowest over the last 4 seasons. But he's always been a pretty efficient basketball player from the field, shot 49.2% this past season. Wasn't sort of a down year from behind the arc, shooting 35.5% from 3. And now, if the Bulls were in a different position right now, I would love the Brandon Ingram trade. Like, I'm a big fan of his game. I think he's an underrated playmaker just because of his height. He's able to see over the top of opposing defenses. But with where the Bulls are at right now, he doesn't fit the timeline. The Bulls are setting themselves up to go on a championship run in 4, 5, 6 years from now, not in the next couple of years. And Ingram, entering the prime of his NBA career, he is a win-now player, and that's just not in the situation that the Bulls are in. But I'll ask you guys this. Who wins this trade between the Warriors, Bulls, and the Pelicans? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And, hey, if you're a Warriors or Pelicans fan coming across today's show, let me know your thoughts on this deal as well. But let me know who wins it, Golden State, Chicago, or New Orleans. Well, let's kick it to the second trade target Bleacher Report listed for Chicago, and that is Keldon Johnson. Now, I've been a big fan of Keldon Johnson's game coming out of college, a very physical, big-bodied guard who can get it done from all 3 levels. And this was the trade that Bleacher Report floated out there. It was the Bulls receiving Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins in a trade for Zach LaVine, still attaching that Portland pick and the 2 second-rounders. You go look, it's actually hilarious. Any trade ideas you see floated out there on the internet involving trading Zach LaVine, every single trade has the Bulls attaching that Portland pick and the 2 second-round picks. I think that is the floor in terms of draft capital they're going to have to attach to LaVine's contract. But Greg Swartz, who wrote up this article for Bleacher Report, said this about the Spurs trading for LaVine. He said the Spurs are one of few franchises that could reasonably take on LaVine's remaining money, given that his massive contract runs through the same length of Victor Wembanyama's rookie deal. If this happens, Johnson would almost certainly be one of the players coming back to Chicago and fills a need as a young, versatile forward who can score and make plays for others. Now, I have been pounding the table, pounding the desk this whole offseason that the Spurs are my dark horse team to trade for LaVine. First off, the connection that LaVine has with Greg Popovich is very strong, dating back to when LaVine played on the USA team a couple years ago. But also, you think about his red flags, like the defense and the contract. Well, his contract wouldn't be a big issue with Wemby still on his rookie deal, and the defensive part of the game, Wemby's one of the best defenders in the NBA already. And plus, with the Spurs culture and Greg Popovich manning that defensive unit, I think they would be able to mask some of the inefficiencies of LaVine's game. But the Bulls would be swinging Keldon Johnson in this trade. And if you are able to land Keldon Johnson in a Zach LaVine trade, you take it and run, because this is one of the best up-and-coming players in the NBA. He is, in my opinion, a hidden gem amongst league circles. But this past season, in 30 minutes a game, he was a 15-a-game guy, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, pretty efficient from the field as well, 45.4% and 34.6% from downtown. But you would also be landing Zach Collins. Now, I would like to pick up a Zach Collins if you were able to move off Vooch, but if you kept Vooch and then you brought in Zach Collins to the center rotation, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it, because, you got a lot of mouths to feed in that center room for the Bulls. And, I would actually be a fan if it's Collins and Jalen Smith, those guys being your yin-yang in the center rotation. But if you add Vooch to that group, I just don't really see, how it would work out. Like, you would have 3 guys probably getting, you would hope, at least 15 minutes a game for each of them. So, this trade, again, I would be a very big fan of it. Any trade that involves the Bulls trading Zach LaVine without attaching any of their first-round picks, I would, take it in a heartbeat. But we'll get to the last trade here in a second. But first off, got to tell you guys about a sponsor here at Chat Sports. If you guys head to chatsports.com/Bulls combo, you guys can get this 2 t-shirt pack for 20% off. I got mine last summer. I rock these shirts almost every single day. They're great for working out in, great for going out to a bar and repping your Chicago Bulls. If you guys want to do the same, check this link, chatsports.com/Bulls combo. I'll put that link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. But check it out and get some Chicago merchandise, or Chicago Bulls merchandise today. But another player the Bulls could trade for, one of the best shooters and a very underrated player in the NBA, Corey Kispert, one of my favorite college players of all time. He was awesome for Gonzaga a couple years ago, but this was the trade idea that actually I came up with. Bleacher Report didn't list the trade idea for the Washington Wizards, and this gets it done in terms of matching contracts, because again, that is the biggest kicker when trading Zach LaVine. A team would have to match that salary that they are taking in, but it would be Malcolm Brogdon, Rashawn Holmes, and Corey Kispert heading to Chicago. And this is what Greg had to say about the Bulls picking up Kispert, saying one of the most underrated shooters in the NBA, Kispert, would pair perfectly with Giddey's elite passing. The 25-year-old has averaged 12.3 points and shot 40.2% from 3 over the past 2 years in Washington, and has yet to sign an extension with the Wizards. Now, I'm a big believer in this when you have super athletic, rim-pressuring guards like Kobe White and Ayo. Adding shooting around them will just help their development immensely, because that just helps the lanes get less clogged. Like, when you have that elite shooter in the corner, that help guy is going to second guess, giving that extra step to the driving guard, because he knows if Kobe or Ayo kicks it out and you got Kispert out there in the corner, he's going to knock that down at a very, very high clip. And he was very good for the Wizards this past season. Playing only 25 minutes a game, he was able to average 13.4 points per night. Very efficient, like I've been saying, from the field and downtown. I mean, the man shot 38.3% from 3 last season on a very, very high volume. And it just always gets me back to this, man. And I have said this probably 1,000 times. I've probably shown this exact graphic with the exact words on the show probably 10+ times this offseason. The Bulls need to trade LaVine or Vucevic before the start of the 24-25 NBA season, because you slowly started going to this rebuild and youth movement, because you made that Josh Giddey trade where you traded away Alex Caruso, a more win-now piece for a more, developmental piece in Josh Giddey. But then you kind of halted yourself. You didn't make any following moves. You brought in a guy like Jalen Smith, who's a young center, but you didn't really kind of put the icing on the cake of this offseason by trading away LaVine, trading away Vooch. If you could somehow trade either of those 2 guys before the start of the season, I think it would be a very successful offseason for Chicago. But if you guys had to pick 1 to trade, who are you trading? Zach LaVine or Nikola Vucevic? Give me an 8 for LaVine or give me a 9 for Vooch down below in the comment section. If I had to pick one, I would obviously lean Zach LaVine. But if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter, that's the handle right there, @PatSeeps. If If you guys do so, I'll give you guys a follow right back. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. As always, go Bulls.